Alka Kapoor, Principal at Modern Public School, Shalimar Bagh, Delhi.
Yeah, hi, I'm Archana Surana. I'm the founder and director of Arch College of Design and Business. We are based in Jaipur. We're a design school.
Wonderful. Nice to meet you.
Welcome, Archana ma'am. Welcome, Alka ma'am. I'm Rashmi ma'am. What is the most important thing when we say it's a leadership skill, the adversity is the most important thing. So how do you, in your area of work, where do you think adversity is and how do you manage that? Adversity in many ways. So we take first point as COVID. So that is the biggest adversity. So Jyotishman sir, you can start with it. Okay, Alka ma'am, yes.
So I strongly feel that teaching for us is not just a profession, it's a prayer, it's a religion. And when the academic elite, they decide that they have to make a change, the first thing that they need to focus on is developing the adversity quotient in a child. So a teacher can make or break a child, and I feel the words that Guru wahi jo sahib ko milaye, and when we talk about Guru wahi jo sahib ko milaye, is making you connect with the ultimate. And how do you connect with the ultimate? When you learn to move with the flow and when you don't stop. So adversities are there in every part of life. They can come any moment. So I believe that schools and leaders should focus not just on imparting knowledge, the academic knowledge, but also prepare the children for many skills. And I think WHO has recommended almost 10 skills: the problem solvers, creative thinking, critical thinking, communication. So all these, when they are mixed in the right proportion and all these ingredients are correct, I think a child gets prepared to meet all the adversities. And of course, Abraham Lincoln wrote to his son's teacher, "Don't teach my son how to win, but teach him how to handle his failures." Now, this statement sets the ball rolling for today's topic. There has to be a balance between the content that we are giving to the children and the competence that we want them to acquire. I want to mention here that it's no more just the survival of the strongest or survival of the fittest, but it's survival of the most adaptive to change. And I have personally imbibed a lot from COVID-19 situation. 6 months ago, no one had imagined that we will be thrown into this deep sea and we will have to swim and sail through. So if we've been able to handle this crisis and this change so beautifully, it's only because of our adaptability as people to unlearn and then relearn. And that is why so beautifully we could handle this adversity. Schools have come out as COVID heroes with their seamless online teaching. We were not prepared for it. So I think this is a loud and clear message that education system should now focus more on skills and attitudes. And when I say attitudes, I would say attitude, skill, and knowledge, and that is ASK. I normally call it ask. So this has to be in the same order and it cannot be the reverse.
Thank you. So if we take this forward from Alka ma'am, that skills should be developed in emotional and IQ, AQ, adversity quotient. So my question to Jyotishman Datta sir, so how do you feel the students coming from class 12th to your university, are they well equipped for your studies or the programs which you are giving? are they able to adjust? And students coming from many other cities. So how do you manage, or how do you think, what is the AQ and IQ or EQ level in this adverse time will be?
Good afternoon. Well, to start with, what we have noticed in the last 10 years is that there tends to be a huge variation in how the students progress and behave in a higher education institute. You have a student coming with an 80, 85%, maybe a 90%. You on paper think he's a brilliant person. But the way he performs and the end of the day, after 4 years, the kind of job he gets is very different from maybe someone with a 50% gets. Because schools are, you in a way, schools, you're still a child. There's a lot of care being given by parents or the teachers. In a higher education, you move to a lot of practical training or very domain based training, and it's much more rigorous in that way. So in college, yourself, what do I call that, your initiative, how driven you are, these attributes play a much bigger role. So here we have seen a huge change. We even try to track it. The input percentage in college and how they exit the college in those 2 years, in those 3 years, in various placed in various placements, there's a huge difference. So as you mentioned to it, we've also tried mapping these figures, as you mentioned, when the student comes for our own record, when how do they actually measure in terms of IQ, which more or less you can see from the marks in terms of EQ, in terms of AQ. Again, AQ you can map. We have so-called counselor psychologists who are trying to map AQ per se, but I don't think we have in all these years figured out any test or any platform or any way we can mark AQ. AQ is very
What is
simply,
the required
yeah,
here? Yes.
it's very different. I cannot quantify it. I've not been able to quantify it. But I believe, as Ma'am has mentioned, a company today would be more interested in people who are flexible, because adversity is a job. A job is nothing but facing adversity. School and college life is quite different. It's much more patterned. You study exams, exams. Job is unpredictable, especially the companies which are having a larger package and they're taking for jobs like sales. Sales is perhaps you're facing adversity every hour. So these are the jobs that they will judge in their own way, which are the students who are most flexible, which are the students who are most likely to get up once they fail and they fall. I think these are two things that we need to teach. You will fail, you will fall. How fast can you get up is your biggest talent, not what marks you score. But I don't know whether as a education system in India or elsewhere in the world, have we been able to document it? Have we been able to conceptualize it and teach it? I don't know. I don't have the data. I don't have the knowledge per se. But if that can be taught, I think that would be the biggest asset the students would have as they go forward in life. Knowledge is fine. Knowledge is a process you acquire throughout. But this attitude, I don't know how you inculcate it, but if you can, that would be the biggest asset any student would have. So this is a huge thing that I have seen in a Hereditary Institute, that a lot of changes. Self-driven, who is self-driven ends up getting a better job and progressing much better in life. He may not always score the better marks, but that attitude is much more, what do I say, a much more talent than the, as we all would agree, with mere IQ. Now we are still chasing marks. That's the fact.
Um, so, Archana ma'am, I'll
Yeah.
take it from here to you that you are also a founder and director of Earth College of Design and Business. So it's
Yeah.
something very unorthodox if we say about career or studies. So what do you think this adversity has brought children into this line of art, business, designing, and IT, bringing technology into it? So how can it help, or what message do you have for the students who have just come out of class 12 now, today's results after that?
Thank you, Annie, for having me a part of this conversation. I think it's very valid to talk about something like adversity when each and every human being is going through it. I think adversity is not new to us, whether it's war that happened during the India-Pakistan, or the partition, or the Spanish flu that happened in the past, or the 9/11 that happened, or something that happened in Mumbai was the bomb blast. So I think these are not, adversity is not something new for mankind. And the first thing, at the level of the attitude, we need to understand that as human beings, we are going to go through these challenges at all point of time. Yeah. And it's just that, when it's good, it's good. Otherwise, I think adversity can come to you at any point of time. So since I'm an entrepreneur, so businesses fail, there are people who go bankrupt, there are challenges, the business dynamics changes, Within the education system, definitely I would see it as very disruptive completely because of the online education. Though it was already in, but I see for specifically for school education, it is quite challenging because we are still in that old school of education, which is we need to, we are actually forced to now completely come online. Whereas with design, because we are always ahead of the time. So design is all about future-led thinking. So as a design school, I mean, for me, I always feel that we've already always been on the toes because we always identify a problem which is not unforeseen, right? So we always prepare our students to see a problem statement, create a problem statement, create an opportunity, and then look at challenges that could possibly come in the future. So, for me, when I look at my whole experience of 20 years nurturing an institution from just two rooms where I started as an entrepreneur. So while I sit as a dean of the Rajasthan Skills University, which is like, got 15 to 17 colleges in all over Rajasthan, having fashion, jewelry, and interiors, and running 4-year international courses. And so, I see it's very interesting that, for us, a problem doesn't come across like a problem. It seems like an everyday affair. So I know that COVID it's actually become a level playing thing where everybody is going through the challenge. So I see it as a great opportunity. As an opportunity in the sense that, we were all very fond of the word disruption in the last 1 decade. And I think it's been completely disruptive where there's no choice left with anybody not to really look at innovation now. So in fact, we had already had a theme at Arch for this year, which was disruption and innovation. Because if you don't purposefully disrupt, you're not going to innovate.
Madam, I'll just tell you one thing. Looking at the topic of the conversation today, that is how to excel in adversity, the concept is something very, I'll just tell you my opinion on that, how to actually, one should nurture children during the school times. And when they are nurtured during the school times, maybe 2-3 years in the college thereafter, they are able to manage their lives accordingly. So in that respect, I'll say one thing, that is something which is very, very special, is that the definition of intelligence says how quickly one adapts to a situation. That is the definition which has been given by the most educationists across globe. So if I were to talk about all this, I'll give you a very small example. You can see my beautiful haircut, which you have never seen like this ever before, Williams. And Pranav, I'm sure, must not have seen this. But you won't be surprised that I have done it myself. I've shaved myself absolutely clean because I know from last 4 months, I'm not moving out at all. This is just an adjustment. I'm making an adjustment in the sense that how to cope with the situation. And I can be doing it happily. I can be doing it with an absolutely sorrow face. The choice lies with me. So what I'm saying is, it's too hot right now, though you have all ACs, etc. on, but you can't be in the AC throughout forever. And that also kills you in another way. So the way you devised for yourself is, okay, you have a trimmer there for your son. Use that to actually trim yourself completely. So I have done this twice in the last 4 months. Okay. So the idea is how to cope with the situation. And the adversity, when adversity comes and knocks your door, that is the time when your intelligence comes into the play. And when your intelligence comes into the play, you have to see that how happy you are in a situation which is available to you. So in that respect, I'll say if as educators, as teachers, as principals, as educationists, in last 30 years, what I've seen is that if we are able to imbibe a few good qualities in ourselves and in our children, the job is done. I'll take you one small story of Rani Lakshmibai. She was just 7 when the teacher was teaching her, okay, beta just bolo, mere piche repeat karna hai, that this is how they used to do it. कि क्या करना है? बोलो मैं बहादुर बनूंगी. She said, मैं बहादुर बनूंगी. So immediately Rani Lakshmibai said, मैं बहादुर बनूंगी नहीं, मैं बहादुर हूँ. Meaning by something which you need to build in the children is courage to deal with it. That is the essence of training at school level and at college level and at any level. That is what comes handy in the life, not anything else. Let me tell you, no mathematics, no physics, no English will come to anyone's rescue. if you do not have those basic qualities as humans are there in you. So if you have given those qualities in the children during those 14 15 hours in school, 14 15 years in school, and thereafter I'll say at least 3 years in college, and thereafter maybe more in the college, then the job is done. For that, I'll say I'll list only 4 things which I consider it to be a essential part. When I say part, it is in capitals. PART, part is definitely I'll say it's the most essential ingredient which the schools should actually take care of and the educational institutions should take care of. One is patience. When I say P, P stands for patience. If we have taught them how to be patient in the various situations, then the job is done. Whether it is COVID or non-COVID, whether it is pandemic or non-pandemic, if you are not patient, you can't run your own house also, Baba. With 2 people, husband, wife, with 2 children, brother, sister, they will keep fighting if they do not have patience. So the idea is we need to build that very basic concept in the mind of the children that look, patience is the key and essence. And in case, let me tell you, my subject is mathematics. The most desirable trait of a mathematician is patience. And you will be wondered to know, I have known this man, this is Carl Vaughan. You people must be aware of it. Carl Vaughan is the researcher across the globe who has done the research for the longest period of time. It took him 76 years to prove how honeybees track their path, how they pick up nectar from one flower to another, how they pass it on from one to another. This took him 76 years. For that, he got a Nobel Prize 70 years later. He started when he was 6 as an agriculturist. While he was in the field, he actually used to be fascinated. He became a researcher. After that, he became a professional researcher and kept on doing this. Had he not had the patience, he would not have dreamt of Nobel Prize. Nobody would have given him also. So he was not working for Nobel Prize. It was basically the word which has been used by the other panelists also is acceptance. If you do not accept, you will keep cribbing. If supposing I'll say, I don't accept COVID. Okay, you just start fighting out there in the street. Obviously, you will have the same symptoms within you, and then you are stuck with it. So obviously, if you're not accepting what is coming your way, that means you're challenging the situation in an absolutely wrong fashion. You need to have patience. You need to accept those things, keeping the coefficient of intelligence in mind. Then comes the word R, that is resilience. Human race is most resilient amongst all animals. Mark my words, I'm not boasting about human race, but let me tell you, to kill human race, you need to have a catastrophe on earth. या तो ये सारे एक साथ जाएंगे या कोई भी नहीं जाएगा. At the end of the day, कुछ जाएंगे, वो war में भी जाते हैं, हर तरीके से जाते हैं. There are ways for going, and everyone has to go at the end of it. The bottom line to be happy is we all know that we have to go. When we have to go, if we go peacefully, we are happy and and we have lived our life, it's fine. If someone has done it, unfortunately, at an adverse time or a more recent times and all that, it's a pain. But truly speaking, the bottom line is that everyone has to go. So if you accept that fact and have patience, this resilience will bring you absolutely peace and calm within you. Once that is there, let me tell you a biology fact behind it. Not being a mathematics teacher, I'm telling you a biology fact in this, and that is, if you're more at peace within yourself, if you're more at peace around you, there is a I don't know what you call that as. I need to find out the right term for how it is. They activated only when you are at peace. And Dicer is so powerful that it can stop the spread of cancer within you. It can stop the care. This COVID is nothing in front of that. If the anxiety, now look at the trauma today. The trauma today is people are more worried about the anxiety of COVID rather than COVID. Those who are having COVID, they are somehow surviving with it. And then 14 days, if you look at the death rate, it is 2.76%. So if you know that the death rate is 2.76% and it is with the comorbidities and all that, you need to be within yourself, you need to be at peace rather than being anxious and looking at the news. Oh, it's like 5 lakhs today, it is 7 lakhs today, it is then there may be a day, it may be a crore in India, because you know it's a land short country, and obviously social distancing will be a challenge. So at that point in time, this will spread. If it spreads, how to control it, that's a separate issue. But what I'm trying to tell you is, if your dicer is activated, you will be able to handle it. All that comes from patience, all that comes from resilience, all that comes from acceptance. But if that is not there, then you are stuck. And the last, I'll say, the ultimate of it is the word T, that is trust. You need to trust yourself. You need to have faith in yourself. You need to have faith in the Almighty that everything will be good at some stage. Whether you want to have it or you don't want to have it, the choice is not there with you. What Bhagavad Gita has said, it has given you the choice only on your karmas. If you start dancing right now with the 10 COVID people outside, you are bound to have COVID. So then it's like no point getting into that kind of a domain. What Americans have done, basically they have organized parties, etc., and all that. Perhaps that's why the fatality there is far more than anywhere else across the globe. So one has to actually understand that if these four components are taken care well, there is no reason any adversity can create a havoc for you, because it is the adversity which teaches you the power corrupts you. The moment you have enough power, now you feel, oh, I can do it. That's when you lose the essence of it. But when you gain the maximum, it is the adversity only, because you know how to cope.
Keep going, and I'm sure magic will happen.
Sure. So thank
Thank
you
you
very
so
much.
much. Thank you.
And good evening to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.